There are several reports the White House is considering diverting relief money for Hurricane Harvey to help pay for the border wall.
It's an option President Trump is reportedly considering if he declared a national emergency.
So is that a real proposal, and what do Houston area lawmakers think of this? Adam Bennett reached out to some of them today, and what'd you find out, Adam?
Well, Ron, one of them says it's flat out false. The others tell me they haven't heard anything confirmed for sure, but none of them that I've talked to will support the idea. Reports claim that the White House has directed the Army Corps of Engineers to examine pulling nearly $14 billion of unspent money that the Corps received in a disaster bill passed last February. That money was earmarked for relief measures in Texas, along with Puerto Rico, California, Florida, and other hard-hit areas. Well, this morning, Republican Congressman Kevin Brady of the Woodlands said that Hurricane Harvey money is safe and that he's spoken directly to the White House and that the reports are absolutely not true. Now, Republican Congressman Pete Olson of Sugar Land says his office learned of the proposal through press reports and strongly expressed opposition to the Trump administration's plan. And Senators Ted Cruz and John Cornyn addressed this issue today in Austin.
So the president has now talked to his lawyers about whether he would have the authority to issue a national emergency and reprogram money that's been allocated for other purposes. But I will tell you that I will oppose any reprogramming of Harvey disaster funds. We've talked also to the governor and lieutenant governor, as well as members of the Texas delegation, and we are all unified in that position.
And on the Democrat side, staff for local Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher and Sheila Jackson Lee, along with Congressman Al Green, told me that they had not heard anything from the White House, but that they are all absolutely against diverting any Harvey relief dollars. Staff member for another local Republican congressman told me that they have not seen or heard anything confirming the rumors or listing any details. Now, right now, some local congressional members are flying home from D.C. We'll update you with what they have to say coming up at 6. Reka?